Hey guys! As this channel has been growing recently, we've all been getting a lot of questions and confusion about what Spore is, what expansions there are, how to install and register, and so on. On top of this, there's been a lot of false information and assumptions being passed around, which has mainly viewers mixed up their knowledge between expansions and mods. My intentions for this video is that I want to try and answer as many of these questions as possible and to clear up a lot of the confusion. I want to talk about Spore and what it actually is, since there's more to it than just making creatures, and to attempt to solve some of the problems that new players are having. I also want to try and give an informative look on the game, as most people who try to describe Spore either don't have a clue what they are saying or they are strongly biased against Spore. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you why you should buy Spore, but instead what it actually involves. I would also like you all to keep in mind that there are going to be some annotations in this video, and many links and information in the video description, so I encourage you guys, or anyone that has any questions, to please read the video description first, otherwise I'm happy to try and help. And finally, if you're interested in mods only, I'll be recording another video soon to showcase a collection of different mods, where to get them, how to install them, and some needed information about them. When the video is published, I'll include an annotation on the screen now to redirect you, and in a link in this video's description. So, first off, how to get Spore. Spore is available on PC and Mac. It supports Windows XP to 7, and most likely Windows 8 as well, and I believe it can be run well on Linux systems as well. Spore is a computer game. Any Spore-related game that's been released on Xbox, PlayStation or Nintendo consoles are either emulators, although I can't really imagine how well that'd work, or spin-off games. You may purchase Spore as a physical copy from stores, or online for full price on the EA and Origin websites, or the Steam application. It can also be purchased from Amazon for a lower price, and Steam often has sales that make Spore and its expansions incredibly cheap. However, if you intend on modding your copy of Spore, I'd personally advise the original physical copies, until we learn more about modding the Steam copies. Spore can be played as an offline game, however to get the most out of it, I suggest playing it online. The greatest benefit to playing it online is the feature to upload and download the content that you and other players create. Otherwise, if you play it offline entirely, the only creations you'll encounter are your own and the max's default creations. Registration is simple. You simply install your copy of Spore, and as it prompts you to log in or register, enter your email address, password and a desired username for other players to recognise you as, and your account shall be made. Patching typically happens automatically after you've successfully logged in, however Spore will not be available to play during patching. The patches include bug fixes and some additional content and actions. If no patches are available, you're either fully patched, or you can download the patches online with a simple Google search. There are patches that contain bonus content which I'll describe in the expansions section of this video. When interacting with Spore online and the related websites, it should be noted that the European Spore website has been shut down. This should not interfere with in-game features. However, it does mean that if you want to use the Spore website, I suggest using the US option when prompted to choose a language. The US Spore website has always been the most reliable and functional, and generally the most updated. You do not gain or lose any benefits depending on which website you use. On the topic of websites and servers, it should also be noted that the in-game search functions for Spore are very slow, and they have been so for years. There may be times where your copy of Spore fails to connect to the servers, and I usually find that when this happens, just be persistent and keep on trying to log in, or download, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Sometimes I will try to download the same adventure or log into the same account up to 10 times, but with persistence it does eventually work, especially if you are able to log in at least once in your current account, computer or location. If you have never been able to log into your copy of Spore after registering, ensure that your copy of Spore is legit, in other words you purchased it from EA or Steam, that your file settings are correct, and that the Spore websites are running. Do not confuse connection issues with your desired account information being unavailable. If your problems persist, contact EA customer service. With that part of the video explained, next we'll take a look at the game Spore itself. The easiest way for me to summarise Spore is to call it a creative evolution simulator. There are 5 stages to the campaign, each stage being part of the evolution of your character, which starts off as a cell, evolves into an animal of your choosing to continue to adapt and gain intelligence, create a city that you build, and finally shoot off into the stars and create a space empire in a large galaxy for you to explore. The general goal for Spore is to become the greatest and the strongest, or faster than those you encounter throughout the world, become a successful species and dominate others through love or war. The first stage is the cell stage, in which you arrive from a meteor that has crashed into your chosen planet's oceans, and that you are required to consume small plant matter or meat chunks, gather DNA points, and keep on growing until you are large enough to step onto land and that you have developed a primitive brain. During this stage, you can call your mate and modify your little cell with offensive and defensive abilities, change its diet, make it swim and turn faster, and generally to gain it an evolutionary advantage. Once you have taken the monumental step onto dry land, your little creature must find and interact with other creatures that populate the land. Whether you choose to be friend or foe is your decision, and decisions you make in every stage will grant you abilities and passives in the next stages beyond. While interacting with the ecosystem, your aim is to adapt and evolve and become the top of the food chain, which can be achieved by interaction, discovering new parts to add to your animal, and finding more DNA. Do not forget, danger always lurks, do not let your creature starve, and be aware of the events that happen near you. Once your creature has evolved and gained a more developed brain and has learned to create fire, your nestmates form a tribe and you take control of not just one, but several of your creatures for the first time. The tribal stage consists of managing your tribe and growing it, give them the tools to advance, and to find enough food to keep not only your tribe sustained, but others as well. Ally with other tribes or wipe out those you dislike, and conquer the local land until you are ready to form a city. Now that food and survival are no longer your concern, your next goal is world domination. You have land vehicles at your control which you create, which you use to control spice cases to use as currency. Your aim is to create a profitable city with buildings that you design. As the stage progresses, you learn to control sea and air vehicles which can all be used for trade, communications, socializing, and combat. But do not forget, even with your arsenal at hand, the terrors of the creature stage can still become a threat. Once you have conquered the whole world and every city is under your control, global unity has allowed the dawn of space travel. This stage begins with small missions to explore your neighbouring planets, a nearby star system, and as time goes on to discover and interact with other space empires. One thing to keep in mind as you travel through the stars is that every empire has an archetype. There are 10 different archetypes that yourself and other empires can have, ranging from warriors and shamans, to zealots and barbs, to wanderers and economists, and more. Your empire's archetype is the product of how your race was evolved, and will give you bonus rewards. Let's take a look at warriors as an example. Thanks to their history of aggressive and dominant behaviour, they have the ability to rally a group of pirates to attack an empire's planet. The archetypes of other empires dictate how they react to first contact, how they view both yours and other empires, and what kind of goods they may sell for whatever price. You cannot change the archetype of other empires, but with exploration and experience, and the help of your allied empires, you can learn the ways of others and change your own archetype despite the history of your species. This can be particularly useful if you dislike your abilities and passives that you have earned from previous stages. However, the change is not simple. The space stage consists of exploration, with thousands of solar systems and planets to visit, and many empires to interact with. You can discover rare and unusual galactic formations, defend and assist your allied empires, wipe out other empires through war, find rare items to sell for high prices, and find the secrets that lie near the centre of your galaxy. Your goal is to grow your empire, protect it, and keep it thriving, while exploring each corner of the galaxy and find its mysteries. For every stage you play during the campaign, with the exception of the cell stage, you may find that other creatures, races, buildings and vehicles are actually made by yourself, Maxis, or other players. When creating anything, it can seem quite daunting to find and afford all the parts to finish your creation, especially when it comes to making creatures. Fortunately, there is a feature in the main menu to go to the main editor specifically, where everything is unlocked and you may make whatever you please. Any vehicles and buildings that you may make in the editors, you can use them in future saved games. You may use your advanced creatures in the tribal, civic and space stages, but not in the creature stage without cheating. However, there's always the possibility of encountering your creatures in the wild. There are many keyboard commands that can assist you in creating. Holding Tab allows you to rotate a part in multiple directions. Holding Alt will duplicate a part or a collection of parts. In the creature editor, holding Control on a limb part can separate and reattach the limbs to make different combinations. Keep in mind when doing this to mouse over the limb itself and not the ball joint. And finally, with patch 5 downloaded, holding A while in the creature and vehicle editors allows you to make a part you select, add or remove asymmetrical. In other words, non-mirrored. One more command is the console box. Hold Ctrl, Shift, C and you can enter specific commands. Add DNA gives you 150 additional DNA points. Freedom increases the complexity limit, however this will make your creation unplayable in-game and unshareable. While in the main menu, entering Evo Advantage allows you to play your pre-made creatures in the creature stage. More money in the Civ and Space stages increases the amount of Spore bucks that you own. Keep in mind, for all cheats you do while in campaign mode with Spore, including Evo Advantage, will disable any achievements that you earn in the game. There is a known bug that cheating can disable achievements for your entire account, unless you delete the world that you cheated in. When it comes to expansions and DLCs, there are a couple of which that Spore has to offer. First of all, it's a creature creator. All this is an exact copy of Spore's creature creator, which was released to the public before Spore, kind of like a teaser. The free trial of Spore is actually the creature creator trimmed down, with most parts locked. The creature creator works with the Creepy Include expansion. However, I have to stress this. If you ever plan to make vehicles, buildings, adventures, captains, or even play with your creature in-game, you must get Spore, as the creature creator is only a single editor and Spore is the entire game. The exoskeleton parts are the first DLC that were made available to Spore, and they can be obtained simply by downloading patch 3 for free. The exoskeleton parts add different kinds of limbs in the creature editors, which allows you to make insectoids and skeletal creatures. By default, if your copy of Spore is patched or you have any expansions, you should already have the exoskeleton parts. They are free and available to everyone. If you do not have them, search online on Google or on the Spore websites for a download. The Creepy Include expansion is another parts pack released to give more parts in the creature editor, as well as more textures, new test drive backgrounds, and new animations. The Galactic Adventures expansion is the first and only major expansion, and in my opinion, is an absolute must-get to improve your experience in Spore. Galactic Adventures, or GA, is mainly based around the space stage, however it gives you the option to play and create outside of the campaign mode as well. When you first enter the space stage, you are required to name your captain, whom you'll have the opportunity to play throughout the space stage when you're sent on missions to beam down onto a planet's surface, and to take part in whatever adventure the game has given you. These adventures are entire worlds that Maxis and other players have created. They're like miniature levels or storylines where you can interact with the objects, buildings, vehicles, animals, characters, whatever it is that the author has designed. These adventures can range from full-on combat in a fiery, hostile lava planet, to a social mission in an ice world, to puzzles or races inside interiors, to open-world exploration, and so much more. As you find and complete adventures, your captain is rewarded with experience, which is needed to level up, gain badges, and gain rewards to improve their performance in adventures even further. Your captain is an exact copy of your original creature, only this time with a name and a job. So any abilities that you retained in the previous stages, such as flying or a level 5 bite, you get to use in adventures. Any abilities you may have missed, you can get improved versions of with the new captain gear. Most adventures created do not require any specific captain, and these are the ones that will be likely featured in your space age campaign. Some authors, however, create adventures with a fixed captain, so that you may play as someone else's creature in their adventure. This is often the case for adventures that are races, so that every player has a chance of getting the highest score on the leaderboard, as they have all played the same character with the same movement speed and abilities. Aside from these expansions, there was also the Robots Pass DLC, which was a limited time offer in a Dr. Pepper promotion in the US. While I do not believe this is available anymore, there are downloads online that can provide you with the robot parts. However, you may not be able to share your robotic creations online without a legitimate copy. All in all, the Spore community agreed that this was an unfair offer, especially as most players had to rely on their American friends to get additional codes. But this is one that is no longer available to us. On the topic of adventures and parts packs, any adventure that may contain a parts pack that you do not own, unfortunately, you will not be able to play that adventure at all. So in my opinion, if you plan to purchase Galactic Adventures, get Creepy Include as well, since this will broaden the number of adventures that you can play. Not many people own the robots part, so it's uncommon to come across an adventure with robot parts included. To expand on this topic even further, if you own a pirated copy of Spore, by default you cannot download creations automatically. So with this in mind, if you plan to get a pirated version of Galactic Adventures, prepare to be very disappointed. If you wish to play any adventure that is made by any other player, while it's all good and easy to get the adventure into your game, you're going to have a very tough time actually playing it, as GA will need to download every single creation inside that adventure, and there's no way of knowing and finding what creations are there without asking the creator or actually downloading the adventure successfully in the first place. As I said earlier on in this video, the entire Spore collection is relatively cheap on Amazon, and even cheaper during the Steam sales and deals, so it is worth purchasing to get the full intended games experience. Moving on, Spore has also had other games to accompany the series, rather than just expansions. DarkSpore, for instance, was another PC intended game, which was a hack-and-slash RPG that allowed co-op gameplay with a team of up to 4 players and arenas. If we happen to have any Blizzard fans in here, just think of DarkSpore as a Diablo 3 meets Spore kind of mashup. Other games have been released as part of the Spore franchise, such as Spore Hero, intended for the Nintendo consoles. However, unfortunately, I cannot shed any light or information for these games as I do not own them personally. Now we are going to look at the two Spore websites, which is Spore.com and the Sporum. the best reason to visit Spore.com is to discover other creations and players. Since when you first register into Spore in-game, you're automatically given a profile on the Spore website, which shows off all of your creations, achievements, your buddies, and your captain's progress. There are two great online features with Spore. One is the buddy system, and the other is Sporecasts. To add someone as a buddy means that you have subscribed to them, and everything they make will be downloaded into your game, including creations they release after you have buddied them. By default, everything you make while playing the campaign version of Spore is usually shared online automatically. So keep this in mind when you try to be funny and make penis creations, because someone's copy of Spore out there will end up downloading your creation into their game, and there are a lot of young players who play Spore. The Sporecast feature allows you to make a collection of specific creations you have chosen, whether it is creatures, vehicles, buildings, adventures, or whatever. You can add all of these into your Sporecast, which other people can subscribe to. On top of this, before you start the campaign game in Spore, you can select a Sporecast, so that the game will try to only include creations in your Sporecast that you find in-game. For example, if you were to make a Sporecast full of blue creatures, green buildings, and red vehicles, the game will try to populate all creatures with your chosen blue ones, all buildings with your chosen green ones, and so on. However, if there is a part of the ecosystem or empire that you do not have a creation for, such as it needs to find a factory building, and you may only have green city halls instead of factories, the game will have to find a random factory building instead. Overall, Sporecasts are a good way to form a collection for personal use, or to try and design an ecosystem or empire for your future saved games. You can take a look at my Sporecast, with a link in the description, that I've created for the sole purpose of having a variety of good looking and well animated creations in your game, which have been made by many different players all around the world. Just keep in mind my warning from earlier, that although this feature may be available in-game, the in-game connection is slow, therefore you'd be better off building a Sporecast on the Spore website and then using it in-game. The other Spore website which is available is called the Sporum, which is the official Spore forum. Your login details are the exact same as that of your Spore account, since the Spore website and forums are linked together. The Sporum is the key place to find help for issues you may have, to talk to other players, and to share and find artistic creations and adventures to populate your world. Do be warned, the community can be a little bit jumpy at times, but overall there's a good player base over on the Sporum, and it's also a good place to find updates and discussion on my Let's Play GA series. With a game like Spore, especially with its controversy and age, there are a lot of rumours that tend to be floating around recently, many of which I'd like to try and clear up for you guys. The biggest two rumours that tend to pop up are, is Spore dead, and will there be a Spore 2? Now then, please bear in mind that what I'm about to say are all my opinions, but opinions that I hope you find reasonable. So, first off, Spore is not dead, not by a long shot, and the servers will not be closed anytime soon. Spore might be ageing, yeah, but if you take a look at the forums alone, which may have about 5 to 10% of the entire active player base, the forums are nice and active. Alternatively, just look at the Spore.com website and have a look at the statistics there. There are always new players registering every day, new creations being uploaded all the time, so all of this talk about EA shutting down the servers are false, at least in this current point in time. Regardless of what many people may say, Spore does in fact have active players, and since Spore was originally advertised as an online game, EA are therefore required to announce if they plan to shut down the servers. When the European website was shut down, we had plenty of notice beforehand, and European servers were horrifically glitchy and slow anyway. As for the other rumour, which is about Spore 2, you'll find that online there are plenty of results for trailers, video clips, and supposedly leaked information. In my opinion, all of these are false until EA announces it is true. People like to mess about a lot, and what's been a common issue for years is that any fan-made trailer, or any Maxis-made trailer that didn't make the final cut, was later found online, and they're always slapped on with a label pretending it was a sequel. The unfortunate fact is, there hasn't been any new content announced or even hinted at for Spore since Dark Spore was released, and it would come to me as a huge surprise if there was something being planned right now. However, do not feel sad about it. With the activity on Spore at the moment, there are still plenty of talented creators who provide content for us to enjoy. If anyone would like any examples of players that excel in creature creating, or making buildings, or vehicles or adventures, feel free to ask me, or take a look at the small list of my favourite creators I've provided on the screen now. I suggest these in particular, only because their content animates well in-game, which I'm sure is more desirable than a gorgeous but a glitchy creature. As of recently, a lot of you guys have been requesting I do some kind of full-on campaign version of a Spore Let's Play, and I'm finally, slowly beginning to cave into the idea, but I need your help first. I plan to do 2 different series, one with mods and one without. Because I had played the campaign version of Spore so many times before, it is all going to be pretty quick and easy for me. So what I want from you guys is to give me challenges or ideas, like quests and goals. Maybe I should do this achievement or create my character in this way, that kind of thing. I aim for the entire experience to be interactive, but to begin with, I'd love to have some rules and options put in place for when I begin the cell stage. So guys, thank you in advance for any ideas you may come up with. I'm looking forward to hearing them. And now, I'd like to add in a quick FAQ, as there's been a few questions I haven't been able to fit in elsewhere. I'd like to give a huge thanks to everyone for helping come up with some of these questions in another recent video. Questions in regards to mods and creator tips will be delayed, since I have a video planned for mod installation and another video planned as a full-on creator tips and tricks guide. Also, please check the bottom of the video description for links towards a master FAQ on Spore issues which involve installation, patching, starting, crashes, freezes, connection, and so on. And now, before anything else, the one big question needs to be addressed. What mods do I use? If you think I use mods and you want to know what they are, look at the video description first, please. All of my recent videos, or anything that's been released this past year, that uses mods or anything fancy, usually has it written in the video description. Please just read it first, and then ask me. Moving on, why can't I connect? Ensure that you are able to connect to the Spore website. Make sure your firewalls aren't blocking Spore, and when you register, make sure that your details are correct and your username is free, and that you are not just mixing up connection errors with your username being taken. To be completely honest, every Spore player I currently know from all over the globe have no issues connected to Spore, so I really do think this is all individual connection issues from the user, not the server or the destination. What's the difference between the creature creator and Spore's creature creator? None. The big difference is that the creature creator is just a creature creator on its own, while Spore is everything in Spore with the creature creator built in. What expansions are there? 2 patches, exoskeletons and robot parts, creeping creature parts, and the Galactic Adventures captain parts and adventure missions. Please refer to the expansion parts of this video for more detail. Is there a Spore 2? No, there is not, and I refuse to believe there is until I hear it from EA. There are similar games in the works, such as Thrive and Universium, but no official Spore 2. Dark Spore is not a sequel, it is a spin-off. Where is the aquatic stage? There is no aquatic stage. The idea for one used to exist in the 2005 demonstration for Spore, but it was never actually available. Using Galactic Adventures, it is possible to simulate an aquatic adventure, as you can see in my examples, but there's no real stage. Mods are being designed for it, but as far as I'm aware, none are currently finished. Why aren't my graphics shiny? Even if all of your settings are set to high, your graphics card might not be suited to the rendering options that you're after. Your RAM and CPU might be enough to handle the tougher games, but your graphics card is still needed to produce the glossy textures and bump mapping effects in Spore. How do I copy parts, or break limbs, or make things asymmetrical? Please refer to this part of the video. How do I add mechanical parts to my creature? Assuming this is referring to the Robot Parts DLC, just place the parts on the creature like you would with anything else. The trouble is getting the robot parts in the first place unless you are using mods. How do I remove the menu or the interface? Hold Ctrl H. This works for both the editors and the in-game campaign. How do I share my creations online? When you play the campaign game, assuming you're playing online, your creations are automatically shared. Otherwise, after you have finished creating, there is a button on the bottom right of the screen that allows you to share. Modded and freedom creations cannot be shared online. Why can't I delete the Maxis creations? The Maxis creations simply cannot be deleted. While they might not be the most aesthetically pleasing, they are there for the players who do not have internet access to the Spore servers. Can I play with the creations I have already made? Yes, you can. Creatures can be chosen as villagers and civilians, and you can also use your pre-made buildings and vehicles in future stages. Advanced creatures cannot be played in a creature stage without cheating. To cheat, go to the main menu, hold Ctrl Shift C and enter Evo Advantage. Start your game and find your desired creature to play. Can I play as an epic? Can I befriend one? And can I kill one? No, you cannot play as an epic, not without mods. You cannot befriend one either. You can, however, kill epics, and there are achievements to be gained in doing so, but it is not an easy task. Why can I only use certain mouths? And why are so many parts locked? While in the campaign, you can only discover mouths based on a diet that you have ended with in the cell stage. If you completed the cell stage as a carnivore, your diet will be strictly meat, and thus you can only find carnivorous heads. Same goes for herbivores and omnivores. You can only find the mouths based on your creature's diet. As for parts being locked, you must find, discover, and earn new parts while exploring and progressing through the creature stage. It might take some time before you get the parts and stats you desire. What's up with the large bones in the creature stage? Clicking on the bones and digging them teaches your creature a new part. Personally, the only difference I found between the big bones and the small bones is that there's an epic near the large bones. What is the best diet to go with in the campaign? In my opinion, omnivore is the way to go. My only reason for this is it makes finding food easier in the cell stage, there's little stat difference in the creature stage, and omnivore tends to grant more interesting and helpful abilities in later stages. In Galactic adventures, why do some adventures give me more points than others? The varying number of points are the result of the difficulty of the adventure. The harder the adventure is that you have completed, which is determined by the win-to-loss ratio of previous players, the more points you earn for your captain. So guys, there you have it. I hope that covers the majority of questions and concerns, and clears up any misinformation that's been floating about recently. As I said in the beginning of the video, I also plan to create a video about Spore mods and installation, so keep an eye on that one as well if you're interested. If you have any further questions, please take a look at the video description first, message me, or ask for help on the Spore forums. A Spore account is required to post on the forums. But guys, as always, thank you for watching, I hope this has helped, and I'll catch you next time.